How many of you know a billionaire? And I don't mean just know of him or know that he or she has more than $1 billion, but knows them intimately as a friend. Go to their house once in a while for their birthday, for a dinner. How many know a billionaire? I am just in the wrong church, aren't I, No one knows any billionaires. All right. Well, let's pretend that you do, okay? Pretend that you have a friend who's a billionaire, and you frequently see them and all. So it's their birthday. What do you get a billionaire? What do you give as a gift to a billionaire? Anybody? Donation to his favorite charity. That's good. Something symbolic. Well, I don't think you have anything to give them that they don't have. Let's say you do this. Let's say you save up $100 and you buy them an Olive Garden coupon and say, here, you can go to the Olive Garden. They say, oh, I would love to, but actually I already have plans for Italian dinner in Italy tonight. And then I'm going to buy the half of the town. So I'll be going on my private jet, so I got to go because, I don't like to keep my pilot waiting. Whoa. Well, I don't know what you give a billionaire. That they have everything. It's that old saying, what do you give to somebody who has everything? What do you give them? Let's replace that billionaire with God. What do you have to give to God? Really? God is everything. He's everywhere. He's in everything. He's limitless. There's no end to the time or the space. His infinity. God is everything. So how do I give God something that God doesn't have? Because I belong to God. There's nothing I can give. I'm going to use in the Eucharistic prayer number 2 today, I'm going to use the 4th preface. For the common preface it's called, number 4. And this is what it says. Our thanksgiving, God, addressed to God our Father, our thanksgiving adds nothing to your greatness. Even our thanksgiving is a gift from you. You see, because if we got up today and we said, oh my God, I'm alive, pinch me, just check. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I see, I hear, I can walk, I'm hungry, and I just start my day in gratitude. Well, I'm doubly grateful and thankful, should be, because I have enough sense to be grateful to God because it all belongs to God, and I only have it because He's so generous and loving to me. So even gratitude is a gift from God. Think of it. People who aren't grateful to God, who don't even think of saying, God, thank you, wow, they're already missing something. They're already lacking because they don't have the gratitude to appreciate all the gifts that they have. In the church, these are statistics that I read all the time. Out of every 100 Catholics, this is a statistical number, out of 100 Catholics, only 23% practice their faith on a regular basis, regularly. 77% do not. And this isn't just Roman Catholic, this is across the Christian religion. 23% regularly, 77% don't. So we're the 23%. Bravo, bravo. Now, don't judge the 77%. They could be your own kids, your brother, your sister, your father, your mother. Don't judge them. They may be better than we are. They may be more in touch with God than we are even sitting here. So let's not judge them. But I want to say this of the 77%. If they're not very much in touch with God, I feel badly. And I ask myself, what have we done wrong? Is it us? Did we create the environment where they walked in and they felt God through us, through our worship? I'll give you an example why some might not. See, I always say sit in the first 5 rows. If you have kids, don't sit in the back or middle. Sit up front because they can't even see the bodies in front of them. So, of course they're bored. They can't see. How would it stand? You hear the choir, but you can't see them. Then you stand, now you really can't see them. So if you have 5 or 6 or 7 years of boredom in the church, whoa, maybe they need to sit in front. And what happens, I always say, choirs should sing in the last 5 rows. Fill the sound from the back. Because I fear, not at St. Bernard's, of course, somewhere else, if I go to the back, here I bet is the majority response from the middle to the back. The Lord be with you. Hallelujah. decreases the further back you go. Usually not at St. Bernard, somewhere else. So how does someone come in the back of the church and feel a house of praise if it's very praising up front but not so in the back? Or what if you came into church first time in 4 years? Maybe there's one here today. Feeling low, depressed, feeling a need for God. Nobody greets you. Nobody looks at you. Nobody says, "How are you?" Nobody even recognizes that you're a face they've never seen. What happens? So maybe there's a part of us in this whole experience. And if we listen to the scriptures, what do they say? The first reading says, God will take us up on the high mountain. That's in the scriptures where God dwells. And He will give us a feast, a banquet, with the best of foods and the choicest of wines. I like it already. The choicest of wines. He will take away the veil that veils all peoples. He will even take away death. That's our first reading, that generous and loving God. And then Paul says in his letter to the Philippians today, he says, God will give you whatever you need. Whatever you need, God will give you. And I'll tell you where. It'll be deep, deep, deep in your spirit where we hunger and thirst. So in that beautiful context of a God who is never ending in His giving and merciful love, Jesus speaks this parable. He says, hey, I got a story for you. But first of all, who is He talking to? Don't check now. Don't look at the books now. Who was He addressing this parable to? Aha. Anybody listening? Not to the disciples, good guess though. To the elders and the priests. To the people who were supposed to be the 23%. That's who He's talking to. He's talking to the people that are there. And also, they happen to be the people who didn't accept Him, who didn't believe in His words. Maybe they liked His words, but they didn't care for Him, and they were always trying to test Him, put Him to the test and see if they could break Him. Eventually, they're the ones who would put Him on the cross. Those are the ones He addresses His parable to. So He says, hey, you guys, so for a moment, you're the chief priests and the elders, you're that group that you don't like Jesus, and I'll play Jesus, okay? Thank you very much, okay? You don't like me. You don't like anything I have to say, and you can't wait until I trip and fall. Oh, that will be your day of glory. So I say, hey, you guys, I have a little story for you, a little parable, okay? Here goes. There's a king, and his son was going to have his wedding feast. Now, right there, you got to stop. Put it on pause. A wedding feast in the days of Jesus was not a 1-hour celebration in the temple and then a nice party and dancing, maybe till midnight. It was 3 or 4 days. Look it up. Do a Google search. A wedding feast at the time of Jesus was a big affair. Still is. I have friends in India who they're going back to get married there, and they said it's at least 4 days. 4 days of celebrating. It's huge. But not only was it a wedding feast, a huge thing, this is Jesus' story, it's the king's son. And you're all invited. You are invited to the king's feast. And this half, they don't even respond. They don't even respond to the invitation. This half respond by saying, hey, well, I'm busy. I got to go to work. I got to check my farm out. Sorry, can't make it. Whoa, that's unthinkable, unbelievable. That's incredible. The king, his son is getting married. We're invited and we don't go? I don't get it. This is Jesus' story. He's given us a big punch here. So after the first wave of not even responding, Jesus says that the king sends out some servants to go invite them again. Well, they don't come. They beat up the servants that come with the message, and then they kill them. It's, you're supposed to love the messenger but hate the message. Well, in this case, they hated the messenger too, so they just killed him. The king was enraged in the story that Jesus is telling. And so the king sends his army out there to kill them all and burn their town down. That's the response. So how are you hearing this out there, okay? So then he says to his servants, look it, I've killed the calves and the food's all ready. The feast is there. Go out into the roads, into the streets, and go and invite anyone, good and bad alike, I don't mind. Even invite bad people. And they do, and they fill the banquet hall. But then Jesus comes along. I'll pick on you today, okay? And he says, my friend, how come you're not dressed in a wedding garment? And he just remained silent because he got busted. He got busted. Or to say to not solid, right? Not solid. And so the king says, bind his hands and feet, throw him in the darkness where there'll be grinding of teeth. Misery. Now, we start to apply this. And we want to be careful, not word for word, because it's a very rich metaphor. It's an exaggerated metaphor in every way. The king, his son getting married, the feast, nobody comes, they kill the messengers, and so the king burns down the town and all. We're not that. We're the 23%. And the story on one level is saying this. You know, all you have to do is show up. Good and bad alike. This is what this church is. We're the 23%, and we're good and bad. All of us. All of us have good and bad. All of us are hard workers and we're lazy. All of us are prepared and unprepared. You name it. We got it all. Nobody here is perfect. Would the one perfect person in there raise a hand? Anybody perfect? Because I'm going to slap you if you raise your hand, okay? Thank you. Okay. We're sinners. That's okay. God invites us in to a feast. Doesn't even care if we're bad. Maybe he hopes even more that the bad will come so that his love maybe will do something for them. But there's one person who comes who isn't dressed properly. And he says, get out. Don't. What's that about? Well, on one level it is true. Just showing up is good. It's enough. And at the same time, it isn't enough. And this is where the story pinches us. This is where the story gets really tight. Because just if we show up doesn't mean too much. We could be in this group that's, we could be in this group for the whole Mass. Don't look at anybody if they're doing it, but we could be this group the whole Mass. Even using both thumbs, which I can't do. The whole Mass. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. I'm busy. We could fall asleep. We could be so possessed of problems and anxieties that we hardly hear a word. We don't hear who the gospel was spoken to in the story. We didn't hear that part. So, although showing up is good, what we're supposed to do is show up hungry and thirsty. That's the point of coming to the feast, to eat and drink. It's not just food, it's a feast, the best of food, the most choice wines. It's the body and blood of Christ. This is what we come to feast on. So coming with the proper wedding garment, it's not about an exterior garment, it's an interior garment. I come dressed, ready for the feast, hungry, thirsty, open to receive the Lord. I want you, God. Come into my life. I got to walk into this church prepared to say, God, I'm here for an hour. Feed me, love me, touch me with your Spirit, illuminate my life. We can't come in here bored. We can't come in here, okay, God, do something, but I'm not going to cooperate. We got to be hungry. We got to be thirsty. And then we say we believe in a God who will give us exactly what we need. If we don't walk out better than when we came in, don't ask me to explain it. I don't get it. If we don't walk out and we're fed a little bit more, don't ask me what that means because I can't explain it. We're sitting here in the presence of the Word of God, in the presence of Eucharist, in the presence of a lot of faith, a lot of people of faith. This has got to change us. And then, of course, I'm going to say the most awful words of the Mass. Here it is. Your will be done, God, on earth as it is in heaven. Really? Is that what you want? Really? Do you want God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven, where they're all praising Him, where God is perfect? God, we love you. Oh! So when He says things like, love your enemy, really, God? Forgive those who hate you. Really, God? Be compassionate. Take the last place, not the first. Really, God? That's your will? Well, I like some of your will, but that part of your will stinks, so don't say that to me. Really? Is that what we're saying? Or we're saying, God, is it your will? Then change me. Help me to find that in my life. And then what happens is this hour becomes an incredible transformation of our lives. This is finding life. This is becoming something new. This story, this parable is for us. And although it's pretty darn good that we're in the 23% who have just shown up, really, that is good. That's really good. But what's even more important, what's best of all, is that we're dressed on the inside for this feast. And this dressing inside is to say, Lord, I want you, I need you, fill me, bless me, love me, guide me, give me your Spirit.